everybody, and welcome back. This is Stop Now, where we stop, listen, and share. I am one of your hosts, Nate, and I am joined, as always, by the newest member of the team, our good friend, Savita. Savita, how are you this week?
Hello, Nate. I'm doing very well. How are you?
I am good. I'm doing good this week. I'm excited to talk about imagination this week with everybody. So I've been imagining this all week, Savita.
It's always nice talking to you, Nate.
Yes, it is so good and so good to see everybody out there. And I think what we're gonna do, you know, we started these TED circles here at Stop Now, and we watch the videos and then we give our thoughts and comments on the videos and use that as a springboard for conversations. And so this month's theme is imagination and the ways that we use imagination in our everyday lives, Savita. And
Yes.
so, you know, we're going to take a look at a video, and then you and I are going to, you know, have a really good discussion about, I guess, the importance of imagination, not just for kids, but for adults too.
Right, rightly said. Let's watch the video.
My son and the iPhone were born 3 weeks apart in June 2007. So while those early adopters were lined up outside waiting to get their hands on this amazing new gadget, I was stuck at home with my hands full of something else that was sending out constant notifications. A miserable, colicky baby who would only sleep in a moving stroller with complete silence. I literally was walking 10 to 15 miles a day, and the baby weight came off. That part was great. But man, was I bored. Before motherhood, I had been a journalist who rushed off when the Concorde crashed. I was one of the first people into Belgrade when there was a revolution in Serbia. Now, I was exhausted. This walking went on for weeks. It was only until about 3 months in that something shifted, though. As I pounded the pavement, my mind started to wander too. And I began imagining what I would do when I finally did sleep again. So the colic did fade, and I finally got an iPhone, and I put all of those hours of wandering into action. I created my dream job hosting a public radio show. So there was no more rushing off to war zones, but thanks to my new smartphone, I could be a mother and a journalist. I could be on the playground and on Twitter at the same time.
All right. So what did you think about that, Savita?
Well, it was a funny start how she said about her walk with the baby stroller at 10 to 15 miles, and the baby has to be in a moving stroller, which has to be quiet as well, you know. So they need silence. So maybe that's when she realized that, you know, where she will not be able to handle a telephone, or, you know, she wanted to be in the moving, and the only thing she could do is to think something without a gadget in hand, which gave her time to think. Yeah, I think it was just a groundbreaking idea for herself. She should be surprised, which brought her till the TED circles. I found it to be a very interesting talk, especially the way she put it and the data she told us about the distractions. My God, 45 seconds is the attention span of a person. And
Yes.
she said, I have noted down 560 times, 67 times a day we change our screens and the tasks. Oh my, that's a lot. And 74 times we are going to check an email, even though I don't know how many emails we get in a day, but the constant pressure, or our mind is conditioned to look, and even if you're not going to get emails, or we're going to get some forwards, or we're going to get some newsletters, which we inscribed years ago, not knowing what. For that, we're just going to delete it.
Right.
But still, you know, we are so conditioned to look into it. Yeah.
I think for me, like, she hit on a lot of things that were really interesting. I think, like, you know, some of my best ideas have probably been when I've been, you know, quote unquote bored, or just kind of disconnected from technology. And I like that she said the only businesses that refer to their customers as users are drug dealers and tech companies. And it's true. I think that another thing that you spoke on, and then I'd like to hear your opinion on this, Savita, because you have kids, unlike me. Like I've got nieces, and so like when I see them, when they come visit me, I have to make sure that they don't spend all day on the computer, all day on their tablet, or all day on their phone, because they do like miss out on things. And so I'll make a point like, okay, you can be on a computer for an hour, but after that, we're gonna go outside, we're gonna go to the park, we're gonna do something together, so that way you're not just staring at a screen all day.
So how we divide our screen time at home is, especially the last year and the year before, 2020 and 21, this year and last year, it's been a very challenging time. You can't go out and that, and going to parks also was restricted. It was scary. That time, I think the screen time went little more, even for adults. Yes. I would not blame it on the children, because the children see us and then they replicate what the adults are doing, because we are the people that they look up to. So last 12, 14 months, it's been quite high. The screen time has been quite high. But of course, we have restrictions after school. So many, how many minutes they could watch it. Weekends a little more. Weekend nights a little more with the family movie and all that. One interesting thing I like to say is the pediatrician, when I met her with my baby when she was like few months, maybe 6-7 months, she told me no screen time. I said, I asked her like how much of screen time can we give, because she was having her bottle, and then she's gonna look at that ABC song, which has got 1 million plus views on, not 1 million, maybe 10 times more than that in the YouTube. No, only with that sound, she would drink her bottle. She said 0 screen time till the age of 3.
Wow.
She said till the age of 3, which is like, oh my God, she's only 6 months, and I've got to wait for another 30 months for her to show you the screen. I was like, it's not happening. This is just not happening. So, but still, that's what they say, because the brain have to, because we have large TVs and there's a lot of colors, moving images. So they are so attracted to that. They want a repetitive of that. And that could be very addictive.
I think even for me, like Savita, like even when we were watching the video, like there were times when I was checking my phone because I'm getting emails from work, or somebody, from a show that I've got tomorrow is texting me, and it's like I like what you said, where we've got to go from the technology being a taskmaster to making it a tool again, to making it something useful that can help us. Because there are nights when I probably should have been in bed an hour ago, but I'm on Facebook seeing, talking to somebody, or I'm on Twitter engaged in some Twitter conversation. And like, I think technology is useful in terms of connecting us, because like you and I wouldn't be talking if not for this technology, but there does need to be a point where you kind of disconnect from the matrix and live in the real world. And even if you're bored, like she was saying, I think there can be value in just peace and quiet and letting your imagination just kind of wander.
I remember a story, not a story, a real life instance. I was telling my children about the Harry Potter, the author of the Harry Potter, J.K. Rowling, how she wrote the story.
The other J.K., not our J.K.
Other J.K., yes, J.K.R. The UK J.K.
I like that, UK J.K.
Yes. She, when she, I was reading about her in her biography or one of her interviews, she said she had 4 hours of this train trip, and this idea just came as a bubble in her head, and then she didn't have pen to write. So this 4 hours, she was just looking, and she was just going through her imaginations again and again and again and again. So just because she didn't have a pen, she was not able to put it down on a paper. So that intense, if she would have had a mobile in her hand, maybe she was on Twitter or Facebook, she didn't have that distraction, and she didn't have a pen either. So, mind is one of the strongest thing that could happen. The brain is the most complicated and it's the most powerful tool in the world. And that's how she just came to, I guess she wrote it in a restaurant or somewhere. It just poured, she had an idea for all the 7 series. So that's one of the interesting stories. Just because of boredom, she was the TED talk, she said, it was in the mind and it just flew. It just came onto the papers.
Well, I've got a similar story to UKJK, Savita, and it's funny because I think there is something to, if you're stuck in a place and you don't have access to all these things and you're just there with your thoughts. Because back in 2013, I had moved to Canada for a little bit. I found a job and found a girl, and eventually lost the job and then lost the girl. So I had to come back home. And so, flying from Toronto back to Virginia, I had to, go to DC and then wait on the transfer. And then, from DC back to Virginia. So I had a lot of time just on a plane thinking. And, every now and then I'd have, my music or something like that. But I would just sitting there on this plane and just kind of thinking about my life and what I wanted to do. And it was then that I was like, I want to get back into, radio. And because I had, kind of put all that stuff behind me because I wanted to live this other life. And so when that kind of fell apart, it's like, what do you really want to do? Like what really makes you happy? And my imagination, there's the word, is like, you know what? I just want to talk about sports. I want to talk about what's going on in people's lives. I want to, be able to communicate and connect with people through the broadcasting. I was like, that's what I really want to do. And so I think had I not been dumped and lost my job and had to fly back home, Savita, and had, 6-7 hours just with my thoughts.
Yes.
I might not be doing this right now with you. Like I might be working at somebody's, oil field, or I might be, working at somebody's ranch versus, talking to you and talking to our audience out there.
Yeah. But what do you think about, idle mind is a devil's workshop. That's what they say in the other side of the coin. I think it depends on in the place where you are and what you're thinking and how constructive you are thinking. Because the knowledge could be either side, it could be for a destructive or a constructive purpose. And I also think that, people talk about this analytical skills and creative skills, thinking out of the box, especially when they're recruiting somebody for a company. Now they are looking into the EQ part of it, the questionnaire or the analytical skills. And they also look at the emotional quotient, how the manhandling, how they be in a group, the dynamics of the group and things like that. We say knowledge is very important, the subject knowledge, how they handle a project. The technical knowledge is very important, but how they solve the problem, the troubleshooting, like with people, the actual human resource, especially when you go up the management scale, I see that it's very important. So in the future, maybe they can call something like CQ, the creative quotient. I guess they have specialized questionnaires to see how the problem solving is there on that. So what is your idea about knowledge and creativity? Which is more important? Where do you see that?
I mean, knowledge is very important, and so is creativity. I don't think you can just have one or the other, though. Yeah. I think if you just have knowledge and there's no imagination, there's no what could happen next, we don't get cell phones because nobody would have taken the time to put that knowledge and that technical skill to, what if I had a phone that I could just walk around with all day, that doesn't have to be connected to a cord, or the car, like coming up with the first car. Like somebody had to sit there and say, what if we could get around without these horses pulling us everywhere? Like, what if I could just get into something and go where I needed to go? So I think you do need that creative aspect of it, Savita. But you're right, though, in terms of like, there can be the case where idle thoughts can be harmful, and just you can have too much time alone in your own head. And we've seen that, from a lot of people, particularly like you're saying over the last year and a half, where so many people have felt isolated because of the pandemic. But I would say that like you can't just have creativity just unfiltered, like with nothing grounding it to reality. So you need that balance. And I think that's kind of everything in life, Savita. Like we need that balance between being imaginative and being realistic. Like we need to deal with problems that are actually happening, but we can also like look towards the future where maybe that problem doesn't exist anymore because we've done the work to get rid of it.
Right. So when you have an idea, a creative idea, for example, the Wright brothers, they saw a bird and they saw a bird and they did their flights, they didn't stop at creativity. They thought, why not? Mm-hmm. And then, they channelized it into something very constructive. And, we are flying everywhere now, it's become
and it takes time too, Savita, because like they didn't get it right the first time.
Exactly.
They had to work on it and it was a process.
Yeah, the creativity was the first step, but knowledge and other things came after that. And of course, hard work and other things joined to it. Yes. All right, that's wonderful. There was another thing I had researched and I thought it was wonderful. In 16th century, 15th century, when there was plague, and Isaac Newton, we know the story that he was just sitting under the tree and, the apple just fell and he thought about it in gravity. Did we think about it? Why was he sitting under an apple tree? What was he doing there? And then he was thinking, come on, he was a scientist. And then he was thinking there. So that particular year, I think it's 1666, I remember because of the sequence. So it was a plague year. So again, it was a pandemic and people were not allowed to colleges and schools and everything was closed. So of course he had a lot of time. So that year he was bored maybe. So he being who he is, he's a scientist. So that year is called the Year of Wonder because he discovered about gravity, calculus, I guess what I don't know, so many things. That's why it's called Year of Wonder. I was just reading about it. I felt, oh my God, boredom. And what happens to a scientist when he's bored? Of course, he'll do new inventions,
Yes.
So nice. We spoke about the aircraft and Newton, and of course, it's a lot of science today.
And I love going back to the video, Savita. I love that, she talked about multitasking, and that's something that we do all the time. Yeah. And she's like, you're not really multitasking. You're doing one thing at a time, just all over the place. And so there is like, getting back to Newton or somebody like Benjamin Franklin, like people that took time to just be. And I'm just going to think. And, for a scientist, he's going to think about science stuff. And why did this apple fall on me from this tree? And so I think there's a lot of value in just kind of slowing down, because that's the other thing. Like life is so fast moving, even in the pandemic, Savita. Like life moves so fast because of technology, and we're all connected. And it's like it's okay to take a step back and just think and imagine and dream. Like I think she talked about daydreaming. Yeah, I think daydreaming is something that is important because you're thinking about the world as it is and what it could be. Yeah. And that's how you get to that next step. You have to visualize it first.
True. The habit of reading, and only when you read, it's not the visual media. I think it's more visual now. We see and learn. It's not like we are not going to read instructions and going to use a vacuum cleaner. We're just going to go to YouTube and look into the model, and we do it all the time.
We've got audio books, so we don't even need to read it. We can just have somebody tell us the book.
No, for example, we don't even read instruction manuals anymore for a vacuum cleaner or air fryer or whatever.
I was trying to think, Savita, like the last time I've actually read something for fun, like not something at work, or a document. Like the last time I actually read a book for fun might be like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, maybe. Just because everything, like I said, everything's just so fast, and it's like, yeah, just sitting down, like you're saying, and just actually picking up a physical book and reading it and just letting your mind just work.
Have you seen an youngster with a book in the recent times? youngster, like a teenage person, or a early 20s,
I
a
will say
college going.
that's the one thing. I mean, I love a lot of things about my nieces, but the one thing I really love about them is they are, well, two of them are. One, the baby doesn't read. The baby just stays on the computer all day. But the two older girls, like, they are very big into reading, and they read like novels. They read, Star Wars books. They read science books. They read history books. So they're very big into that. And like I encourage them, because it would be so easy for them just to sit down and turn on Netflix or turn on YouTube, but they want to go alone and stay in their room and read. And I'm like, that's great. That's great.
Yeah, like Star Wars and other things, they're imagining, it's not visual. They don't have, like, they're imagining everything, and they're imagining a fantasy that's gonna improve their personality in the long run. Yeah.
Final thoughts on this topic, because I think that it is, like, especially the older we get, we forget how important it is to just kind of imagine and dream and let our minds just kind of exist without thinking about work all the time.
Right. It's very important for us to take time for a walk, for trekking, or, just not with the technology. I think we are a sandwich generation. The old people did not have the technology that we have now. Of course, some of them are catching up there, but the youngsters, they were born with this. They have a technical finger when they were born. They have a techno in their blood. So we are a sandwich generation, which is a positive also. We have been reading. We did read nighttime stories. We did read storybooks. We did read Enid Blytons and, Nancy Drews and, I don't know, Secret Sevens and things like that. We did go for a walk. So I think it is important for us to tell our younger generations to, slow down. It's okay. It's okay. You can use your Google for your calendar, How many of us just don't even know the date unless now we're going to look into our mobiles? People don't wear watches anymore. Everything is there in a mobile phone.
There's I know a lot of kids that can't tell time on a standard clock anymore, because it's not digital.
It's digital everywhere. They have to have a digital. So I think we, as a sandwiched generation, we have to educate our younger generations to be, it's okay to slow down. It's okay to be without technology. It's okay to be without the screen time. It's okay to be in the nature. It's okay to sit idle. Just be idle and then think about it. We don't need to go further into meditation, things like that, and not to get them scared. But, sitting idle and then just thinking. Oh my God, I never thought sit and think would be a task. But I think it's important moving further.
And I think, like what you just said, Savita, and what she brought up in the video is important for us to remember as adults. Like, these kids have never known a world that wasn't influenced by technology. Like we grew up where, there was a shift, probably when we were around 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, somewhere in there. Like, there's a shift where we went from the old ways to all of this new stuff coming in. But like my nieces and your kids, like, they've never known a world that hasn't had all of this technology. So it is important for us to be like, just kind of pump the brakes a little bit and detach from the technology and go outside and just allow your mind to refresh. Because I think that's another thing that was in the video, where, your brain only has so many resources. And if you use them up, you got to recharge them. And I think being in nature is a way that you can kind of recharge it. I think also napping, like, that's something I'm realizing the older I get, Savita. Just like, there's times, like when I was a kid, I used to hate naps. But,
no, that's why they call it power nap.
Yes,
because it regenerates your brain.
Yes.
They say 22 minutes or 30 minutes of nap. Some of the offices, corporate companies, they ask you to take a nap. They have like rooms and capsules. I don't know what you call that, where you just go and lie down and come back. It regenerates your creative skills.
I would love that. I would love that at work. Just,
especially in the afternoon when you are like
yes, like
after
after
good
lunch.
Exactly. So yeah.
But yeah, this is a good topic. I think, you know, again, everybody, as JK mentioned, can check out some of the other TED Circle videos. They're really good. But I enjoyed our conversation, Savita, and I'm imagining what our next topic will be.
Well, keep imagining till next month. We'll be able to catch up on another interesting topic.
Yes.
Of course, we have a lot of imagination topics in our TED Circle, so we could see that as well.
And for anybody that is watching and wants to find out more about us, you can find us online at stop-now.org.
Thank you and bye.
Bye for now, everybody.